lifeline is divided into two polar extremes, fear and love. Fear is in the negative energy spectrum, and love is in the positive energy spectrum.
Duh.
Excuse me? No, duh is a product of fear. When I was doing Kitty Farmer in Donnie Darko, I remember talking about something about Kitty, I don't know, and Michael said, you know, this is the real you. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, I'm telling you, this is the real you. So I'm a Virgo, and I guess I am sort of a stickler for rules. I like things to be clear. Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion.
And there it is.
And there it is.
Do you still get recognized for this role? Is that something people are coming up to you and saying on the street?
All the time.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's just, it's the brilliance of Richard Kelly that it's just such a simple line, really. And I remember when I read for him, he said he did not want me to be cliche or cartoonish, but he wanted to take me right to the edge. But he wanted me to be very sincere. So I was very sincere in that.
You can't just lump everything into these two categories and then just deny everything else.
If you don't complete the assignment, you'll get a 0 for the day. I love Kitty, and I don't even see her as a bad guy. I really don't. She is vulnerable, and she's scared, and she's trying so hard to find answers. And she is, I made her like very neat and clean, and we made her hair very tight, and, always got it all together, seemingly. And then at the end, Richard gave her that one little thing in the montage at the end with Mad World, where she's so vulnerable. Her world has just crumbled, and she is sitting on the bed, and you just pass by. And I love that he gave her that moment so that you see her humanity. I can see why she fell for Patrick Swayze. I certainly did. I've worked with him a couple of times. We were in acting class together, and so that was one of the best parts of doing the movie, was getting to have him be my hero, because in a lot of ways he was. He really helped me learn to accept myself as a character actress, and was a very, very special person to me. And we did Tu Wong Fu together.
Hello, you handsome thing. All right.
People love that movie, and they watch it many, many times. I've been so lucky because so many of the movies I've been in are like that. They're, you could call them a cult favorite, or you could just say they have a very specific audience. I don't know, but they watch them, many, many, many times. And so they know all your lines, and some of the little things that you just think of as throwaways. Like, I know one that I get quoted from that is, well, anyway, when they're leaving town, and Melinda Dillon and I are saying goodbye, and John Leguizamo is going on with one of his stories, and this was an improv, and I just patted the car and I said, well, anyway, and that people come up to me all the time and they'll say, well, anyway, and I think they see it so many times that they pick up even these tiny little things, which is thrilling. You're here with little Olaf.
He's just up on that summit. All we need to do is scream, and he'll come running.
That's a charming theory.
Let's put it to the test.
Well, my daughter was a big fan of the books, and so I was very familiar with it. I had worked with Barry Sonnenfeld before. We did a pilot Elmore Leonard novel called Maximum Bob. Yeah, we shot in Vancouver, and makeup and hair. Poor Richard had to get up. I think his call times were like 3:45 in the morning because he had to do the skull cap and the beard, and then mine were like 4:45. So, but I never complained to him. But it was a hard shoot because it was freezing cold. It was raining every single day, and so we even had to use umbrellas between the makeup and the trailers, and it was very cold. And the set, all that is, in a studio. It's not out on location. Of course, better in a studio than in the snow. But it was spectacular, the way that they built that set. It felt so real, but there was snow blown all over the place, and very large sets, needless to say. And I don't know, I'm just a huge fan of Barry Sonnenfeld. He's such a brilliant director.
You you also brought up Bryan Fuller briefly, and you've
Yes.
had such a great long relationship with him as well.
There's certain people in the business that you just say yes to. You don't even have to have any details. It's like, yes, yes, yes. And they keep talking and explaining it, and you're, yes,
Yeah, I'm
yes,
there.
when do I go? He just has such a beautiful sensibility. He's such a genius. And his sense of visuals, I mean, he's so magical in the way that he presents things. And he can do the darkest material, but somehow it has so much heart, and there's a sweetness to it. Bryan took that same character from Wonder Falls on Pushing Daisies, and he had to get Todd to help him go to Fox because we were Warner Brothers and get permission, but they all worked it out legally. And boy, did I feel honored that they went to that much trouble. And so the same character appeared on Pushing Daisies. And then also Mockingbird Lane, and then it's not the same character, but then I was in the American Gods. But I think there were elements of her there. Even though it definitely wasn't the same character, there were still, for me, a few elements of maybe this was her freed. Like she had cut herself free and opened a bar, and instead of muffins, she was making drinks,
Hey, girl, Tinder's for dating and mating. And gyrating.
It's not just for hooking up, you pervs. It's also for finding cool people.
I'm on Timber. That's an app for loggers looking for trouble. The thing about Mindy, I mean, I've never met anybody like her. I was a guest star at first, and I went on the show, and I was watching her, and I didn't realize that other people had already discovered her, so I'm so vain. I saw her do this, it sounds like such a tiny thing, but she was in her office and she laid on the floor in the scene, and I thought, oh my God, she's brilliant, because that's what we do. I mean, I've worked in an office. I worked for a production company, and I would lay on my floor. There would be times when I would just be so overwhelmed. And I've seen other women do it. Now, I've never seen a man do it. Maybe you guys do it too. But I know for a fact that I did it, and when I was working in the Jimmy Carter campaign in 1976, I remember a woman who was like head of all the press or whatever, and I walk in, she'd be on the floor, lying on the floor. And so to see Mindy do that and be that true and realistic, I remember having this feeling like, oh my God, she's a genius. She's a genius. Somebody's got to take care of her. Somebody's got to protect her. I mean, the arrogance of that, I thought it was going to be me. I wanted to lift her up because I believed in her, and I know we need women like that. And when I was a feminist in the 70s and, burning my bra, which I literally did, and, all that stuff, that she was what we dreamed of. We dreamed of people self-actualized who could do it all and handle it, and auteurs, women auteurs. And so she was the fulfillment of my fantasy from being a young girl. And so I really just wanted to support her. Then, fast forward 6 years later, I don't think I was so much of service to her as she was to me. And that's the truth, because for one thing, people know my name now.
You have a show called Bestseller coming up? Nora Kirkpatrick.
Oh yeah, I forgot about it. Of course.
So you guys have made a pilot? We can leave this off if it's
No, she did. Yeah, I love her. My daughter and I've been producing with Viola Davis's company, Operation Othello, which was just at the Cannes Film Festival, and we shot in virtual reality.
Wow.
And as we were learning about virtual reality, Nora was one of the people that I contacted because she had been producing in virtual reality. And so I took her to lunch. We got to know each other. In fact, I just fell madly in love with her. She's so funny, so smart, such a brainiac, So yeah, she had called and asked me to do this funny little pilot, and it was such a delicious character. And I get, have the QV, is that what it's called? QVC?
Yeah, I think so.
One of those kind of stations.
Shopping Network.
Shopping Network. And so I'm the queen of one of these places, and I am a bitch on wheels, but very charming in front of the camera. And then I'm testing out one of the new products, and it fries me, basically. I'm like fried. And so it's pretty funny, pretty dark.
That's fun. Well,
I had a blast. I used to say, what is it about my face that everybody wants to kill it? Because Child's Play 2, Speed, I mean, you could go on and on. Yes, I've been killed. I've died from disease. I've had gunshot stabs, Chucky stabbed me with a bicycle pump and then beat me to death with a yardstick. So
Literally overkill.
I mean, that's overkill. That was pretty darn exciting because what you don't know is as he's coming toward you, you've got 7 puppeteers behind him. So I'm lying on the ground, and here come these guys, with these things, and Chucky, and a yardstick. So that was memorable. Speed was pretty cool, though.
This guy's out of his mind.
I have a song written for me, Helen's Death.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's kind of special, to have your death have its own song on the soundtrack.
The track listing is
Helen's Death.
Oh, wow, I did
and it's
not.
very sad, I didn't really think it was so sad for her to die, though. I mean, my feeling watching it was, oh, thank God that whiner is gone. What about the rest of us? What about the rest of us? She was so scared.
Ask every person if he's heard the story.
I had always wanted to play Lady Bird. It was like a life goal. In fact, you could ask my agent. He called and he said, we have a role for you, Lady Bird Johnson. I said, ah! And he said, with Natalie Portman, ah! Playing Jackie, shooting in Paris. Ah! It's like, he said, don't you want to talk to the director? I said, no, I don't care. I want to do it. But I did talk to the director beforehand, and we had a great discussion about the character. But I look like the Johnsons, and her family was originally from the same part of Alabama that my family was from, and genetically I know we're connected. My great Aunt Lucille looked like her twin sister, so I did sort of feel like I had a destiny to play her, and so that felt really great. So I knew a lot about her already, and I often said I had even thought about doing a one-woman show about her. She really was one of our first environmentalists, which sounds so nutty because people used to make fun of her, planting flowers and the blue bonnets outside of Austin and all that. But it really was a true thing. She really was an environmentalist, and she was smart. She was a good businesswoman and definitely a feminist hero for me. So
that was a movie that was highly considered for Best Picture. You've been in a lot of movies that have.
It's kind of nuts, isn't it?
It's amazing.
I can't get over it. Sometimes I pinch myself. Because it started with Rain Man.
Oh boy!
What is going on out here?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm very sorry about that. That man right there is my brother. And if he doesn't get to watch People's Court in about 30 seconds, he's going to throw a fit right here in your porch. And you can help me, or you can stand there and watch it happen.
Well, we like to watch cartoons. You think he'd settle for that?
And she sees an identical twin. Dry ice up here.
Barry Levinson directing, who's one of my favorite directors. The Natural's one of my favorite movies. Diner, all of his Baltimore movies, I just thought this combination is going all the way. So I remember I'd done mostly stage then and a little bit of television. Mostly I was a stage actress. And so I don't know, I just had a feeling. I said, this is going to change my life. And I remember coming back after we shot the big scene and calling my parents, and I couldn't stop crying. And I knew that they couldn't really understand, but it had been so long. I was 38 by the time I did Rain Man. It's not like I was like my first job or that, I was just getting started. But it was like, finally. It was more like, oh my God, I finally really am, The Raleigh News and Observer had this huge picture of me and this tiny little picture of Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, and I sent it to him, and I said, good luck, fellas. The next year I co-starred in 6 movies, literally 6 movies. Wow. And so Rain Man, and then there were quite a few in between, but Time to Kill was in consideration. Speed got nominated. Tu Wong Fu was, #1 American movie at the time. I mean, I was in a lot of great movies. Little Miss Sunshine got nominated. And then No Country for Old Men, which is a perfect movie. And I defy anyone to argue with me about that. I've seen it 15 times. And it's not just to look at my little part.
Here we are, 90-degree heat. I got the cancer. And look at this, not even my home to go to.
But I didn't know I was going to do the character the way I did it. I went in, Mary Zorfries, the costume designer, who's so brilliant, does most of their movies. Mary started showing me pictures of 1980 women in West Texas. And they all looked, with the short gray hair, little perms, big glasses, looked much older than their years. Like my character was only 56, but you look at those women and they just looked way beyond. It's rough life back there. So I looked at her and I said, Mary, should we do it? What do you think? Should we do it? And she said, yeah, let's do it. She said, I'll check with the boys, So she did, and they said yes. And I was all excited about it, but what a risk. It's the riskiest thing I've ever done, in my opinion, because, in a Coen Brothers movie, you want to have it real and you want to have it good, but it's like the thing with Donnie Darko. You want to take it out as far as they'll let you, but when I saw that wig and the makeup trailer and those, I thought, oh my God, what have I done? What? And they give me a beanie bra, which I didn't know, so I'd have droopy boobs. But I did it, and I remember at the premiere, I was so scared. Please don't be too funny. Don't be too cliche. And it seemed to have the right reaction, and nobody was laughing inappropriately. And then when the movie was over, it was dead silent in the theater. Nobody said it. There wasn't a peep. And then there was an ovation. And I said, oh, thank God. We did it, So Michael and I were the first ones in the theater on Friday to trying to absorb it, and I still find it quite a meditation on life. Well, you got to have great directors. You got to have a great script. I can chew the scenery and be very bad. I've got a couple out there I hope you don't mention, because there are a couple I thought I was doing good work, and I go see them. I go, oh, I see. I am chewing the scenery, but. Whatever. Everybody's got a couple of things. And then the artist.
Oh, yeah.
I almost didn't do the artist because I didn't think I would be able to do a silent film. And my husband said, are you insane? And he sat me down in our den, and he put Charlie Chaplin movies on. And he made me watch these silent movies. And I went, oh, they're doing exactly what we do. It's not different. Somehow I thought it was a special pantomime skill. You had to be Marcel Marceau or something, or Charlie Chaplin.
Right.
But really, they were doing the same work we do. It really is the same. So with his encouragement, thank God I did that movie.
Hello.
What are you doing here?
We came here to eat dinner and to party. This is a dinner party, right?
Awesome. What is he doing here?
Yes, what are you doing here?
Dwight is my friend.
We weren't invited?
So it was such a coincidence, too, because I didn't work with Mindy, and then I got on the Mindy project, and then they were calling me to do a live tweet feed for that episode, and I'm guest starring on the Mindy project, and yet she didn't know me, and so it was just a fun coincidence. But yeah, it was so much fun, and all those great comedians that were on that particular episode, because we were all applying for a job to be the junior executive, so it was great fun to revisit everybody and Dwight, and I'm just thrilled I got to do that show. Really well, Dinner Party, that specific episode is a lot of people's favorite episode. Yeah. And so, it's interesting because just like the Best Pictures, why am I so lucky to be on that episode? I think sometimes I don't deserve it, but I think we all deserve it. Why shouldn't we all have good lives? And, if we just show up, and my theory is, just do the next indicated step, just do what footwork is indicated, and turn the results over to the universe. Don't try to control the results because you'll never be able to figure it out. But if you just show up and do the next right thing, try to be a good person, try to be helpful, love, not fear. Just like Kitty Farmer said, she was right all along.